As we were playing at. And we got anxious to watch that. There's coming back. There you go. You have space heater from there. Yeah. Yeah, that's the first one.
You're driving a maroon car parked in front of Lynn's office.
I am.
Who?
Me?
You left your trunk open.
Could you close it for me?
That's what's up.
Is there anything in there that I should grab first?
No, there really isn't.
Or it's still in there.
Wow. Okay. What? You are. You are on camera. You look pretty good too. You're all right. Right front. Yeah, pretty much. You actually have been the past couple Oh, did you see there's
Call order, please. Everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we should do that.
Come on in. There's room over here. Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Householder.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer. Councilmember Fry. Councilmember Bader. Councilmember Hicks. Councilmember Tanner.
Present.
Councilmember King.
Present.
Okay, for the consent agenda, this is our first go at it. And basically, this is something that is considered routine business that any council member can choose any of these items to remove from the consent agenda to review separately after the consent agenda is approved. The list is just meant to cover things that shouldn't have any need to discuss, but if there's anything on here, anyone can pull it off the list and we can consider it separately. The items are approval of the agenda, approval of the city council minutes, approval of accounts payable and payroll, received monthly reports, and this month it's going to be the community service director report, and received monthly meeting minutes, which this month includes Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, South Haven Airport Board, Van Buren District Library Board. And this would be per roll call vote.
So we need a motion for approval of the agenda?
I'll make
I'll second.
approving accounts payable in the amount of $27,972.75, plus the payroll for October 10th in the amount of $14,915.98, for a total of $42,888.73.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
I do have one thing on the minutes, though, real quick, sorry about that, Mayor. On the roll call for the previous minutes, October 6th, it's got Mayor Householder was absent, does it say absent and excused? Does it excuse absence, I'm assuming? It says it all, yeah, everything else is absolutely. That's how you would set it. I don't know if we know.
Brian, is there a functional difference there? Okay.
There's no difference there. We're not.
On page 2, did we strike that? Is that what
Yes.
we did? We struck that, so just so everyone knows.
Yes, on page 2, there was a change in that. It did not have to have the mayor pro tem or the mayor appoint Todd Hess. So it'll just go to the motion by council to make Todd Hess part of the wellhead protection committee. So we just,
I'm just gonna strike the majority of that first line until we get to a motion.
All right, anything else? Let's go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Koenig,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner,
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Frye,
Yes.
Mayor pro tem Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Householder.
I'm gonna abstain on this since it wasn't in the last meeting. Going down the list, number 5. Other regular business, including resolutions, proclamations, presentations. Starting out with A, is the ABB Fire District Report.
That's why I'm here. So, we ran a total of 51 calls last month in September. 24 of those were in the city. We had 20 medicals, 3 fire alarms, and 1 public assist. Brings our year-to-date at the end of last month to 419 for the year. So pretty average month. We're averaging right around 45 to 55 calls a month. So pretty average month, nothing out of the ordinary call-wise. So a few things that we've got up and coming. We just got done doing public education. Everybody knows that October is Fire Prevention Month. We were at the schools the first week of the month for Monday, Tuesday. We were there both days at South Walnut doing fire prevention with the kindergarten through 3rd grade. And then we went back last Friday for Fun Friday with our bounce house. And the kids got to bounce in the bounce house for Friday for their fun day. So, and we also went to the different preschools, or 2 of the preschools here in town. Got to either come to the station or we went to them and showed them the fire truck and gave them some materials for fire prevention. So if you haven't checked your smoke alarm, please check your smoke alarm and change your batteries at the end of the month when we change our clock. That's my pitch for that. Other things up and coming, we'll be involved for the Halloween trick-or-treat event. I think that's on the schedule too to be talked about. We will be at South Walnut with a bounce house. I think we're going to get the little one from Landers and set it up in the gym. We will be there doing cider and candy check. So that's what we'll be involved with Halloween. The only thing about that, and I just heard on the way home, the boys football, varsity football team from Bangor has a good possibility of going to the playoffs, and if they do, that game will be that Friday night. So, not sure where it's going to be. Somebody made the comment that it might be against Finnville. So we'll see, we'll know after this next Friday's game, so just keep that in mind. So, the activities will still go on, I just might not be there. Other than that, that's all I had. Does anybody have any questions for me, any comments?
There.
Thank you.
Next one's gonna be the administration report.
Thank you. It's been pretty busy last few weeks, and in the coming weeks, I just wanted to note a few meetings that I have coming up. I'll be meeting with the Michigan Department of Transportation about the state trunk line maintenance. And some for the council members, I think you saw this list before, but just for the benefit of the public. They're gonna have a meeting about the easement for the wall along the rail side where the DDA project is, Lapita's Market. And there'll be a DDA board meeting this coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock here in this room for anyone interested in coming. We'll be meeting on the wellhead protection plan for an update for that. Neighborhood Watch and the Cemetery Committee have meetings that are coming up. The auditors have been here this last few weeks, and it's been busy for Lisa in particular, and I've been helping out with questions about the water deficit elimination plan, how the agreement with the library works for maintenance of their building, list of city assets, property obtained during the last fiscal year, and other reports. Also been working on, the DNR had a grant report for the last 4 grants the city had. That was something I was kind of a holdover from before I started, but just kind of get caught up on that. I've been reviewing the chief of police candidates. MDOT has a Title IV certification report that's due. Been working on negotiating the PCI contract. And as you'll see later in the agenda, we've been talking a lot about the leaf back, the fall trash cleanup. I'll also be looking at the bridge inspection report that has been finished up, and they're doing a load rating testing to take care of finishing that final bit of the report up. We had a preliminary accuracy test for the voting equipment. The public accuracy test is going to be administered by the Election Commission, which includes Brian, Kim, and I. And that is
Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Wednesday, 8 o'clock in the morning. And we'll be scheduling a tree board meeting coming up and an Economic Development Corporation board meeting. Been working on the request for proposals for assessing services, as we had made a motion on earlier, and accounting services as well. And then it's just kind of a laundry list of various other things, including working on the master plan, the Parks and Recreation plan. For anyone who hasn't already taken the community survey for the master plan, I think there's some little notes right there up at the front counter there. If you could take one and complete the community survey, we appreciate it. In addition to that, it's been very, very active, and I wanted to take a moment to let the council know I've been trying to work very hard on better communications with various council members. And part of that is anytime that there's new council members, and 4 out of the 5 of us, the council members, have been new since the May election. We've had orientation meeting, we've had a workshop where we reviewed the action plan of the city. I would like to ask the council if there'd be interest in having the Michigan Municipal League come for a presentation. I feel like there's a lot that any new council would need to spend some more time building up expertise on. One of the core ones that I think is important is a chain of command. In the city charter, it establishes the city council as the policy setting body. And then after that, it's up to the city council to choose a city manager, and then let that manager be the chief operations officer. And that's the person that's responsible for the day-to-day operations of the city. When council members show up at a location such as the DPW and they're just asking questions, that's great, there's no problem with that. If they're showing up to a police station just asking questions, there's really no problem with that. However, when it's taken to the next level, where you're showing up and you're looking at how the police cameras get installed, that kind of takes it into a supervisory function, which is not part of a city council role for the city charter. And when someone has a problem with something that's happening with the Department of Public Works, or trying to watch and see if something at the Department of Public Works is happening in a particular way, that's a supervisory function. Also, if the police are called onto a scene, like a medical assist, and they're directing traffic, it's inappropriate for me to violate that chain of command, or any council member to violate that chain of command, and to, say, hey, you're blocking traffic. That's not something that any of us should be doing. And that's why I wanted to ask the council if we could perhaps authorize me getting someone from the Michigan Municipal League to offer a training session, and hopefully we can try to work together better and kind of respect our various rules and the chain of command.
Yeah, that's what.
I am asking if you would be willing to make a motion to approve me going to the Michigan Municipal League to ask them to get a trainer to come out, and I think it'd be a productive exercise to hopefully bring us all on better communications, on the same page.
I'd like to make the motion that we,
Wait a second, before.
No,
we-
you
Oh,
can't
okay.
you
even-
can't wait a sec?
Go ahead.
I move that we have the, Ryan get with the MML and come out and train us. Is that good enough?
First of all, well, go ahead.
You have to ask whether there's a second.
Is there a second? Open for discussions. Is it gonna cost us and how much?
It would cost you, and I do not know how much yet.
I have one question. If we would stop on a daily basis, running in and out of his office with this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy.
Is that a question?
He's not getting his job done. So I'm really saying it's time to cut out the bullshit and let him be a manager and us be council members. Amen. That's all I'm gonna say. It happens every day, and then the first thing it's gonna say is, you're not doing your job, you gotta go. So let's do it the right way. I come and see him probably once a week, and I know there are people in there 3, 4, 5 times a day. He's not getting his job done.
I don't know last week.
We're paying him a lot of money.
Is there more
We are paying
discussion
them a lot of money.
on this? Let's have a vote. If there's no more discussion on mission.
I'll second.
Well, it's already
Well-
seconded.
What second?
Discussion.
Okay.
I would like to say that I guess I probably should have put a cap in there because Nick brought up a good point. I don't want this to be a very costly thing for us just to tell us what we can and can't do. And
We should know better.
Well,
Yeah.
I would be bringing information back at the next meeting. This isn't something that we'd be able to get anyone scheduled before the next regular meeting.
I'm okay with that.
We're just making a motion to allow you to look into it and see about it.
Sounds good to me.
Now, do we have that agreed on the type of motion? It's been second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
No.
Or we gotta do a roll call.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's do a roll call. Go ahead. Do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Koenig,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner,
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Frye,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer, Mayor Householder.
Yes. Motion approved. All right, going down the list is city attorney report.
Several items on your agenda for tonight are coming up. We'll be talking about, I have the resolution ready to establish the Charter Review Committee. Some of the things that I want you to be thinking about while you're discussing that is how many members, who the members are going to be, and what the duties of the Charter Review Committee would be. I have a draft resolution ready to go that we can simply insert that information so that the council can act on this tonight if it so chooses. Also on the Police Advisory Committee, I have the revised resolution ready based on my discussions with individual council members. And basically, it's my understanding that what the council is of a mind to do is simply reestablish the Police Advisory Committee And then what I'd like you to be thinking about and talking about when that comes up is how many members, who will there be, and how they'll be appointed. And then I'd like you to discuss how the duties of the police advisory committee would be established. I also note on the agenda that there's something regarding Apple Fest. There is no resolution related to Apple Fest tonight because I, as city attorney, don't have all of the information about that. So I want the council to please be prepared to discuss the point of, is this a city function or not? If it is a city function, show me where it was approved by the city as a city function, and show me that the city has an Apple Fest committee that it can appoint members to. If you don't have an official Apple Fest committee, the discussion should be whether or not you want to create one, which will result quite likely in the possibility of competing festivals. So that's what I would like the council to consider when that comes up on the agenda. And lastly on the agenda, that's the last thing that I have, other than the PCI contract is in the hands of the city manager, who I know has been working on a daily basis with the folks from PCI to get specific terms ironed out regarding job function. And as soon as I have that back from them, then it can be presented to the council. That's what I'm waiting for at this point. The rest of the others, as questions come up on the rest of the region.
You said about the Apple Festival, just backing up a little. The competing committees?
We'll talk, I don't know or have enough information on, is Apple Fest a community event that the city supports? Or is it a city event? Then the city can have an Apple Fest committee, appoint members, and do all of that. If it's a community event, what I've experienced in other communities is when you have a community event and then the municipality decides to take control, what can happen is you can have a competing festival. The community will put one on, and the city will put one on. So just something to keep in mind.
So how
We're gonna talk about that probably more though down at the Apple Festival.
That's correct, yeah.
Spot, because we have a whole line for that.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off, sorry.
Okay.
All right, moving down the list. Let's go over old business. which
Can
is the,
I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I'd like to move under number 5 and come up with a C and basically bring up number 8 from new business, which is the opportunity for public comment, and put that under C, under other regular business, to give the folks in the audience to talk, and then if they so choose after that, state their 3 minutes and then go on, and we can go on with business, and if they feel like staying for the rest of the meeting, fine. Because I think by the time we get to number 8 under new business, they're gonna be yawning and tired and probably.
We already
don't wanna
approved
tell
an
us.
agenda though.
No, I'm asking if we can move it.
Next time?
Under parliamentary procedure, you can't.
Can't do that?
You can't do that.
It's because we already approved
The
it.
agenda
I was,
has been-
why did we take, well, maybe this isn't the time to ask questions. Why did we take the second one off of there? Wasn't there 2 before? Or was that part of the consent agenda?
We had to.
There was.
One at the beginning, one at the end?
There was originally 2 public comment periods. There was discussion, the city attorney mentioned possibility of just reducing it down to 1. The last regular meeting, we discussed changing the agenda format to include a consent agenda. And part of that included kind of moving things around on the agenda. Normally, the accounts payable and payroll was toward the end, and all of that was kind of presented at the last meeting, and a motion was made to change the agenda format, and that's what is shown here. But we can change it again.
So at some point, we
Members
should
would
probably
like to.
talk about, is it good to be at the end, the beginning, should there be 2? So, but that's not on here. So next time?
There's just the one under 8.
Yeah, we
under new
can
business.
talk about that later. Let's go over old business, city charter committee.
Brings me back into it. I have a resolution prepared. The council's been waiting to act on this one. What I'm asking the council to do, what I prepared would be creating a city charter review committee of 7 members. It would consist of the mayor, 2 council members, the city manager, and the city clerk, and 2 electors from the city who are appointed by the mayor with the approval of the council. That is just a suggestion, so I'm going to take this point by point and let the council consider each of these items. If there are any comments about membership, now would be the time.
So you said the mayor, 2 council members, and what was?
City manager,
City manager.
That was on that list before.
And then 3, or
city
4,
clerk,
4,
and
or
then
city clerk.
2 electors of the city to be appointed by the mayor with the approval of the council. If there's no discussion about 7 members, then I'm gonna move on to, the review committee should be, this is the responsibility, the charter review committee, to review and study the existing city charter and possible amendments thereto, and make written recommendations to the city council as to amendment or revision of the city charter provisions. The committee's review shall specifically consider modernization and updating of dated requirements or procedures, and shall include. Now, again, the language that I'm using is typical of other municipalities that have created this kind of a committee, so you can use whatever, you can add to this or change this any way you want. Streamlining and modernizing the financial practices, updating of organizational structure, updating and modernizing of notice requirements, updating references to compensation and reimbursement of city officials. You have some city charter provisions that are just 40 years old and not even close to following current law. And most of what the City Charter Commission is going to find is that it simply needs updating. I'm not anticipating there's a huge change coming, but it's just updating to bring it into compliance with current law. But the Charter Review Committee does have to submit written findings to the City Council by a deadline, and the Council should establish that deadline in this resolution. The City Council, upon receipt of the findings and recommendation of the committee, shall review same with the city attorney and determine whether the existing charter need be amended or revised. The reason there's a distinction between amended or revised. If it's a simple amendment, it can be done by a vote of the council. It doesn't mean the voters are excluded, they do have a role. But if it's revised, it's a more thorough change of the structure of government that absolutely has to go through the voters first. So it's just a question of what the committee recommends and what the council sees of a mind to do. And the council can, from time to time, authorize expenditures by the committee, but no expenditure is authorized without first being requested of the council. The committee shall establish a time, date, and place for the first meeting of the committee. I would suggest that you do that tonight, if you create this committee. You would also, the committee may request the services of the city attorney to assist in considering, formulating, and making findings and recommendations. All meetings of this committee have to be open to the public, shall be noticed and held in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. That's the simple resolution, so now's the time that if you think that covers what the council had in mind, that's fine. And I think the resolution is ready to insert the names of the 2 council members and a deadline for recommendations. This is not a quick process, and so think about that. The voters will be involved at some stage. It typically doesn't go to the voters until the next regular election, which after November isn't going to be until May. So you have some time before the next regular election to do this. I doubt that you'll even make it to May, and the reason I doubt that is once the council comes up with some ideas and recommendations and changes, then they have to go through the Attorney General's office, and then they have to go to the Governor's office for advice. And that's not, they don't turn these around very quickly. So I can tell you, I doubt that you'll even make it for the May general. I think you're looking then at November of 2015 before it would be presented to the voters. So you've got, I think, so, and it's one to be just up and take your time with. You'll see in my notes here that it says that charter revisions are very rare. Charter amendments, and so revisions are the ones where you're changing the structure of government. And so just keep all of that in mind. But if you're prepared, if you can tell me if the 2 council members are going to be, and the deadline for their first findings and recommendation to the council, then action could be taken by the council. And I think Jim was
Jim already had volunteered.
Any other volunteers tonight?
How often are we, is that,
You set your own rules once you have your first meeting. You can, the committee would set its own rules how often it meets.
I'll volunteer to be the second council member.
Okay, so we have Jim and Brad. That's the 2 council members.
And how soon would the council like to see their first draft of recommendations? Keeping in mind, realistically, you're not gonna go to the voters for a year.
90 days?
Probably sometime in the first quarter, I would think.
January would be a good time.
In January sometime.
He did 90 days.
See,
Say by the second meeting in January.
How about we, just out, by suggestion, January 31st, and it can be on the agenda for the first meeting in February. This- So Jim, since this is your baby, so to speak, I'm gonna have you read the resolution, if you don't mind, if you're willing to do that. And then there has to be a second.
You'll be to read them now?
Go ahead and read the resolution.
Okay. Okay, now therefore it be it resolved that a charter review committee is hereby created, consisting of 7 members, consisting of the city mayor, council members Jim Tanner, Fred Hicks, the city manager, the city clerk, and 2 electors of the city to be appointed by the mayor. Number 2, the charter review committee shall review and study the existing city charter and possible amendments thereto, and make written recommendations to the city council as to amendment or revision of city charter provisions. The committee's review shall specifically consider modernization and updating of dated requirements of procedures, and shall include A, streamlining and modernization of financial practices, B, updating of organizational structure, C, updating and modernizing notice requirements, and D, updating references to compensation and reimbursement of city officials. Number 3, the written findings and recommendations of the Charter Review Committee shall be submitted to the City Council by January the 31st of 2015. Number 4, the City Council, upon receipt of the findings and recommendations of the Charter Review Committee, shall review same with the city attorney and determine whether the existing charter should be amended or revised, and, if so, shall proceed in accordance with state law for such amendments or revisions. The City Council, number 5, may from time to time authorize expenditures for the Charter Review Committee in the performance of its duties as provided in this resolution. No expenditure is authorized without first being requested of the council. Number 6, upon the appointment of members to the Charter Review Committee, the City Council shall establish a time, date, and place for the first meeting of the committee. At the initial meeting, the mayor shall chair the meeting with the first order of business to be the selection of a vice chairperson who shall not be a city employee. Number 7, the committee shall request the services of the city attorney to assist in considering, formulating, and making findings and recommendations. Number 8, the meetings of the committee shall be open to the public, shall be noticed, and held in accordance with Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.261, etc. And it would be ayes and nays to that resolution and signed by the city clerk of the city of Bangor. And this is dated, this resolution dated October 20th, 2014.
Can I get a second, please?
A second.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, how are the two people from the elected gonna be selected?
After this committee is created, that's the next thing. You can do it tonight, you can do it at the next meeting, you can do it, they're appointed by the mayor with the approval of the council.
Should we get letters of intent or letters of?
That's what I would recommend. We'll have people apply for the position, and we review the letters of intent, and the mayor can appoint two people. Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Let's do a roll call,
Yeah.
please.
Councilmember Koenig,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner,
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Frye,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Householder.
Yes. Motion approved. So-
Committee's been established. I would suggest that you set the first meeting time. Since the mayor, you're gonna be asking for letters of intent, I would just simply suggest you put it out a little bit.
We need to make at least minimum 2 weeks, probably.
Well, if you're gonna have another meeting, it's gonna be the first one of November, which would be what, November 3rd?
It's 2 weeks.
So after that,
We'll do set the dates. So, Fred, Jim, what's good? Want to go for the first week after our city council meeting on
It'll
Thursday?
be, what, the 29th, on or the 5th, I mean?
5th, 6th.
Fifth. That's a Wednesday.
Wednesday is on the 5th.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as we do it in the evening, that's.
behalf of Kim and I would like to request it some other
This
day.
election
The
before.
Well,
general
the election's on
elections
the
are
fourth.
start
Yeah, it's not a really good time
way
for
early and
us.
then way late. It's a very, very, very
Very
long
long
day.
day.
Yeah.
I'd rather do the 6th.
Well, then,
The
Thursday the 6th?
Yes.
That'd be fine with me. What about you guys?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's do it on the
Okay,
6th.
good.
Yeah, we're not good for Saturday afternoon.
7 p.m.
Okay.
I got football.
The Bangor South Haven Waterfield Association was scheduled to meet here, but they can meet at a different location. That'll be okay.
What time at, what, 7?
7.
Yeah.
They can move it.
We pushed out one more week.
Yeah, I mean,
It's,
I don't want.
I'm not trying, they've been moved before and they've been fine. It'll be okay.
If it's not a problem for them.
It,
then that's-
it won't be a problem, I know those guys, they won't. They've been very understanding in the past, so.
So 6th at 7 o'clock.
I realize that the process of going through resolutions can be tedious, but it is, this council speaks through its resolutions, and when you're creating boards and committees and such, you have to offer this kind of detail because it's not just for the council's benefit, it's so that the public knows what's going on as well. And this resolution is included in the minutes, so.
I have a question. If I wanted to attend, since we're gonna have 2 council members and a mayor, that would constitute a quorum, so you're saying I can't come to this meeting?
As long as you're not engaged in deliberations of any sort about city policy, you personally, but my recommendation would be that you not attend. I just wouldn't even want to open the door to any criticism or concern.
All right.
Already more discussion on that? Let's move down the list. Is the police committee?
The council indicated at the last meeting that it is ready to reestablish the police advisory committee. I need the council to tell me who the members are going to be, how they're going to be selected, and what the duties of the council are. And I have a resolution ready where if I could just simply insert this information, you can reestablish the police advisory committee tonight if you're ready to do so. So I would ask the council to determine how many members are you looking to appoint and who they are. Council members are fine. My reluctance on council members prior was, my understanding was that this was going to be more of a community relations advisory board. They were just not going to be an informal community relations, or that they were going to be just a more of an informal group. And then after talking with several council members following the meeting last time, it was apparent that they'd like to see this a little more formal, open to the public, Open Meetings Act requirements, et cetera, which is absolutely fine, in which case you do want to include at least a council member in the process.
I would suggest that we do 5 total, do 3 council members and 2 members from the public.
I would probably back down to at least 2 council members.
Okay, I don't care.
I would go back to
No one
2
was
and
talking,
3.
I just suggested you can do 1 for all I
I'm
care.
of the opinion to have it be community folks personally, and they report to us as in an advisory role by presented.
Actually, yeah.
So would you be
If it was
thinking
from the
2
community,
council members and 3 citizens?
I don't personally think the council members should be on it if it's gonna be an advisory committee. I think that they should report to us and let us know what we need to know, and then we can make the decision as a body. I think our council's getting spread thin as it is with all these committees, and we've got a lot of other commitments, so that is my suggestion. I would rather see it be the community take that role, to get more involved, but like I said, that's my opinion on it.
Well,
You know,
There's a lot of things to
I feel that
consider
we
there.
need, at least 2 council members and 3 from the community. That's my opinion.
I'd be okay with that. I think when we go forward looking at, hiring a new chief, I would expect the police committee to be involved in that. And that's just what I'd like to see, 2 and 3, or 1 and 3, or 1 and 4, I mean. I think 5 is a pretty good number for that.
Well, I would like to do it where we have a police committee that develops its own scope, reports back to the city council. From a standpoint, here's the guidelines, this is what we're gonna do, propose to do, back to the city council, so the city council comes back, this is the committee we need, here's direction we need to go. Or we're gonna have it reversed, we have appointees or people, and then the 5 people will come back and give us a proposal, what the committee's gonna be for.
Yeah, we're looking for feedback from the community.
Yes.
And if these are all community people, I think we might get better feedback.
Yes, and that's where we're looking at, the scope, what they envision, even see what our police department to be, what tools they need. They do research from a standpoint of what's other municipalities doing, what's their budget, what's their cost. Supporting our, interface even with our police department for their needs and feedback to us. I mean, that's the type of scope I'm looking for, and not me coming back to the committee telling them what I'm looking for, but they develop the scope, come back, feedback to the city council. I really think there should be at least 1 member in the city council on it, just from a leadership standpoint to have that meeting. I would like to see some formalness into that meeting, where it is for the public, where it's not 2 or 3 people or 5 people meeting at somebody's house, where they can come to City Hall or whatever opening place, the fire department, wherever they want to come to, and follow the public act.
Is that part of the Open Meetings Act when we have the council like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
It would be, yes.
Yes.
So we really have to have them kind of here, don't we? So the public can attend?
As long as you notice them out. If they're gonna have regular meetings, for example, I think the way I have it written would be monthly. I was expecting it would be monthly, but the committee can choose its location, and so long as it publishes like it's required to at the beginning of each year where those meetings are gonna be held, it can pick a location as long as it's a public facility and not somebody's home.
Right. Okay.
So based on that, like I said, going back to the council members, are we looking at no council members, 1 council member, or 2 council members?
And that's motion that we appoint 2 council members and 3 people from the citizens from the city.
I second that.
I was gonna say one.
Well, I mean,
I'd
based on-
volunteer.
Well, based on that, we need 2
Well, we have
volunteers from
2
city council
volunteers.
members.
I was gonna volunteer for one, but you went with two.
Any more discussion on that?
Try.
Any more discussion? Then let's go ahead and have a vote, please. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Fred opposed. Roll call.
Councilmember Koenig?
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner?
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks?
No.
Councilmember Vader?
No.
Councilmember Frye?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer?
Yes.
Mayor Householder?
Yes. Motion approved. So the next thing would be, we would have to have 2 volunteers.
Well, sounds like you have one.
1 volunteer. Do we have a second?
Danny said he wanted to.
I heard that, yeah. Danny said I was, I volunteer for anything.
Thinking of one guy, not two.
And Danny.
Thanks, Fred.
And like Brady said, gentlemen, it's some work. You're gonna have to develop the scope and bring it back to city council. And I understand from a Fred standpoint and Harold's standpoint, it's gonna be some work.
Yes,
Like I
it
said,
is.
develop the scope, reversing it back, proposing it back to city council.
I'm gonna tell you the language that I'm gonna use and see if it's agreeable with the council, and that is, the duties of the police advisory committee shall be defined by the committee with the approval of the city council.
We're gonna receive letters of intent from the public for that position also, I'm assuming, what we're doing.
For the 3 citizens?
For the, yeah.
We've received one written letter which I included a reference to it in the last meeting. There was a letter from Julie France of interest in serving on the police committee. Other than that, I think there's been other people historically.
I think
but
that would be a
Pat
good thing
Bader.
is to post it.
Pat Bader did too, that's right.
Yeah, I think we need to probably post it.
You're
so
right.
People can, make, you know, if they wanna, look beyond it, then they can submit a letter and such.
So is that what we're gonna do?
Can we give a deadline for those letters?
Time for the next packet, or?
Yeah.
Should-
Next meeting?
By the next meeting.
November 3rd.
So same thing in that committee. Set out a
Deadline's gonna be November 3rd.
Let them send something in and proposal by the next meeting, November 3rd. Now, who will take
June what date?
November 3rd? That's when we're gonna do it, but the letter should probably come in for next meeting. If we have a
Do you
council
wanna-
meeting for,
Well, we could,
we should probably give them
you know, we're not,
30th.
31st?
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Deadline by October 30th.
Mhm.
Well, we'd like to have them.
October 30th?
How about October 30th? So it gives them a day to get them out for,
Thursday.
10 days.
A council member has to read the resolution and offer this resolution.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Jim, who wants to read it?
Good luck.
I'll say I can give them a day in there.
Hopefully you can give my hand. I'll stand behind you.
Right, that easy. Let's get it.
Okay, City of Bangor, County of Van Buren County Resolution Establishing a Police Advisory Committee. Meeting of the City Council of the City of Bangor, County of Van Buren, Michigan, held at City Hall of said city on October 20, 2014 at 7 p.m. Whereas the City Council of the City of Bangor finds that it would be a benefit to the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Bangor to reestablish a police advisory committee. Now therefore be it resolved that a police advisory committee is hereby created consisting of 5 members, 2 council members, Jim Tanner and Dan Fry, and 3 community members selected by the mayor with approval of the council. Number 2, the duties of the Police Advisory Committee shall be defined by the committee with the approval of the council. The Police Advisory Committee shall provide the City Council with a monthly report of its activities in the preceding month no later than the 7th day of each month. The City Council may from time to time authorize expenditures for the Police Advisory Committee in the performance of its duties as provided in this resolution. No expenditure is authorized without first being requested of the council. Upon the appointment of members to the Charter Review Committee, the City Council shall establish a time, date, and place for the first meeting of the committee and the initial meeting. The mayor shall chair the meeting with the first order of business to be selection of a vice chairperson who shall not be a city employee. The committee may request the services of the city attorney to assist the committee in the performance of its duties. The meetings of the Police Advisory Committee shall be open to the public and shall be noticed and held in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.261, DTSEQ.
I have something now. I've been, there's somebody that's been, or said that he's been appointed by the council and previously that's been on the police committee, and I'm just wondering if that person shouldn't be included as one of the citizens. He is a citizen and a businessman here in town.
I think at this point, they should just turn in letters of intent and go from there.
Well, okay, because he never was really dismissed or as far as being from the council itself, and he never resigned, so.
The committee was disbanded in 2002, so it really hasn't formally existed since.
Even though they've had meetings right along?
I don't know that they have had.
Well,
I think that was more the police building committee.
Mhm.
And the police committee, the actual police committee was disbanded in 2002. But we had a police building committee that was leading.
All right, moving down the list, West Arlington Street project update.
Yes, the last we left off, I had been working with the Michigan Department of Transportation to try to get agreement out of them to pay a little bit towards the concrete storm water catch basin at the top of that big hill. I left messages, haven't received a reply back. I'm going to keep at it. But where they last left off is that they did not want to participate in that cost because, well, we kind of talked about it before, but it started off asphalt, to make it concrete, and I'm going to keep working at it until I get a definitive answer.
Okay.
Before you move on, Mr. Mayor, I note that there was action taken related to the police committee in terms of membership, but there was no vote on the actual adoption of the resolution. So I would call the petition back, of the council back to the resolution. It needs a second and a roll call vote. Was there a roll call on the police
Yes,
committee?
there was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed it completely. I have a cold, and I am taking alka-seltz+.
So, yeah, Jim made the motion, Luke seconded.
Two people, two council members, three
That we
We
did
didn't-
that, and then there were some no's, and you took a roll call vote, but that was on the council
Creating it.
selecting the number of members. It wasn't on
Right.
the adoption of the resolution.
Right.
Then can we have,
Lynn offered the resolution, but the resolution has yet to have been seconded
Okay,
and voted.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the,
Second.
You
or
get one
second,
second,
yeah,
because I read
second,
the
she read
resolution.
it, that's right. I'll second.
any more discussion on it?
Roll call.
Let's have a roll call on it, please.
Councilmember Koenig,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner,
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Frye,
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Householder.
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you. I knew I wasn't.
Successor.
So we did talk about the West Arlington Street project. Next one's gonna be fall cleanup.
Yes, for this, kind of using fall cleanup as a catch-all for three different things. For the hydrant flushing, for this, I'm gonna ask Mark if you could give us a little bit of an update on how that's been going. I understand that the schools had a little bit of trouble, but none of the other customers had, including the industrial park, and Derek had said that if they had received the problem, then he would have known about it too, and we're not quite sure if that was a problem with the school itself, not necessarily related to the hydrant flushing, because you're on one side of town and the school's on the other side of town, and no one in between was affected, so have you tracked that down any further yet, or?
No, during the course of flushing, we found a few areas that we believe there's some closed valves. It happens during the course of being breaks, repairs, and stuff like that over the years. One person opens it, another person closes it, or one person closes them, another person opens them. They didn't know which ones were all open, so it's not uncommon. But as we were flushing, we found some areas that we had incident where there should not be. Your systems are quite well looped. There shouldn't be the issues we have. We had the tower at full capacity when we were flushing. There was plenty of water. It just wasn't getting to where it should be. And then the isolated incidents with the schools, it came and went. So it could have been just either a pocket of air that got into the schools or something. At this point, we're still researching the valves, and then we're going to get back on it. And surprisingly, we had the first few days after we went through that little hiccup, everything cleaned up really, really well. Really well. I don't know. I personally didn't receive any calls, and I don't think if anybody else has got any calls in on still having issues. Now, there's still going to be some issues with, as we get more and more into the southern side of town where there's a little more condensed population. It'll be a little bit more stirred up and stuff like that, but it's going quite well.
We
Now-
haven't had any water mains break or anything during this.
Thank you. You don't say that. We're calling you to help now.
Now, is that potentially the end of the run too, the farthest away, maybe the school?
What's that?
Is that the farthest one away, is the school?
Yes, but it was all three of the schools on the very first day, and the bus garage. And the bus garage is completely looped up 681. It comes all the way back around, back to Arlington, and Walnut had an issue as well. So and then, this high school, I could see it, but they're looped back into industrial. So 2 loops that really, I'm thinking there might be some more valves that are closed that we'll find as we get further out. When you flush a hydrant, when it's on a closed valve, it'll run terrible for a long time, and it should be, it should clear up over time. So we're finding that as we're going.
Is there any benefits doing it at different times, like at night where water's not being flowed much?
Ideally at night is when we will flush, but because we were so new here, we didn't want to flood out areas. At night, you can't see where the water's going. You can move water a lot better, but it's a real hard risk to flood something out, or a yard, or a property. You can't really see the water quality. You've got amber lights that are flashing, so the water looks.
Plus, there haven't been
amber.
any issues with how they're doing it now, so
Okay.
But ideally night is the best time to do it. When we do M43 corridor, that will probably be at a later time, so we can move more water without traffic. Some of the heavier traffic areas, we try to coordinate them where it's during the less traffic time, but yeah, night is the best time, but for us, the first round, it was kind of, we would kind of erred on the better side of judgment, not knowing what we were getting ourselves into.
What's projection, we're gonna do it every quarter?
It's
every half year,
twice a
every
year.
Twice a year?
Yep, you do it in the spring, because the mains have been sitting, the water usage is really low. So it gets kind of messed up over the winter, and then heavy flow comes up, people use more water, irrigation, sprinklers during the summer, so it's not as bad. But right around the fall time, you want to clean it up so then when it goes into winter, they're not going all winter with bad water. Especially the outskirts that don't use a lot of water. They don't get the velocity that we would get with a flush. So it's twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall.
Okay, on to the leak jack. I know there's been a lot of discussion about this, and we looked at getting some quotes, and I know we received at least one, and I hadn't heard that we received the other one yet. No, but we think we have a different option that we would like to think about. Mark, you looked into the possibility of renting a machine and or renting a team, and you're thinking for the bang for the buck versus repairing a machine that might break down just after it got repaired, that this might be the best option for us to quickly go through and take care of this season.
Yeah, we have, right now we have it tentatively scheduled. We would have this is a, it's an industrial leaf vac. Other communities rent these vectors from a place in Kalamazoo. But we would rent it for a whole week, the week of the 6th through the 10th. So we would vac everything that didn't get bagged. If they're bagged already, we'll still pick up the bags from this week, next week, and the first week in November. So if people want a bag, they can still bag. Then we'll run the leaf vac for the week of the 6th through the 10th.
I'm sorry, are you talking about November?
Yeah, November.
So that would be the week of the 3rd through the 7th? That calendar's on October
He
still.
said 6 through
Six through
6
the
through the 10th is what he said.
6th through the
Yeah,
10th.
That's
That's
6th
a
through the
weekend.
10th
Oh, wait,
is
I'm on
the
the
week
wrong.
of
Yeah.
October.
Hold on. Yeah, it would be the, what did we say, the 3rd through the 7th,
Right.
and the 17th through the 21st. And all the other off weeks, we would still continue the bag. If weather doesn't let us permit to get another one, the only reason I don't want to rent it now, leaves haven't fallen. At this point, the leaves haven't fell completely, so if somebody does do bags between now and then, we can go through, we'll pick up the bags if people want to get them out of their yards without them blowing around. That week, we'll go through and do the whole week. Then we'll take 1 week off.
Why wasn't this suggested when we talked about fixing the
What's that?
leaf vac in the first place?
I'm saying, where's the rental cost?
Where is the cost?
What is-
How
what
much
is
is
it?
it?
It's, what did,
$2,000 a week.
2,000 a week.
And what are the estimated repair costs for the leaf vac machine?
8,000, 11,000.
The only one we have was, I believe it was
37.
No. 3261.89.
So rent a machine when we could fix our machine and keep using it. Even though I was told I should, I was there where I was looking over the leaf vac machine, and he said if we fix that and take care of it instead of things like putting transmission fluid in the hydraulic oil, 10 years.
That's if I may, that's a really good question. I think really what concerns Mark and I is the power of the leaf vac that we own is around the power of an industrial grade leaf vac.
Because the guy that serviced the truck said that you can suck leaves from 8 foot away from the nozzle. He said it's a very good and very powerful machine. I think you guys are playing games.
Let's just talk respectfully before people calling on and playing games, okay?
I think you are playing games.
Had I received a quote from, I might be able to comment on it, but I did not. So I don't, all I got was from one quote from. And we've been talking to people that do this for a living. This vac, they maintain it for it. They run us another one. In the quote that we had for the $3,205, that's to get it up in operation. You're gonna blow a hydraulic line, that doesn't mean something else is gonna. That's all we're
maintenance
looking
stuff.
at, is to have the sustainability to get it, use it, and then move on without creating any more problems than we already had for the people.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the quote for, was it 32?
Well, here, I did get, I was there also, and I have to, he repaired it last year. And, he ended up giving me a quote on it. And
Wait, he gave you a quote?
he gave me a quote.
Cause I called him out there.
Or you called out?
There, and it was me that was meeting them there at 1 o'clock to begin with.
So then what was the amount of the quote?
We
He
never
gave
got
it to
the
a
quote.
council member.
Okay. Well, as far as I have a quote, and that's kind of irrelevant, and
Why did I call?
I move that we go forward with the bid that we have a quote for and fix our leaf back
Well,
machine.
they've got another quote too.
No, they said they don't have it.
I thought Mark said he had a quote.
I had one,
Okay, and how much was that quote for?
3261.
Okay.
Was that from
That's
Terry?
just for renting it for the
No, that
No,
was
that was to
repairs.
repairing the old one.
repair.
That's from
And then
Terry Johnson.
Can you give us a detail of that quote, please?
Of Terry's?
Yes.
Why wasn't that in the packet?
I only had one quote. It's difficult to compare quotes.
His-
Yeah, we were
his-
waiting for additional quotes on this. That's why we hadn't got anything back, so Ryan and I were making the, we had to move forward. because we
But
were
why
running
would
out
you
of time.
wait?
Come on, one person talk.
Why would,
So, we were running out of time on getting the quotes, getting the repairs, so we really wanted to get these scheduled in. Timing was probably the biggest issue. Looking at soliciting, we really wanted to get, it's been a standard with every place we've ever worked with before.
Well, I'd like to apologize. The city special meeting for Monday of last week, so we could talk about these. I know this is an issue for the folks in the city of Bangor, and I think most of us, we do pay tax dollars. We do look for, and that's one of the critical things. Sucked up, our limbs getting picked up. Same thing for trash day. We normally have it twice a year. So I'd like to apologize since our city manager did make post it properly on our web. Therefore, the city council meeting had to be canceled so we could meet the requirements of the public action requirements.
You know, what is the quote?
the quote that from Terry Johnson is to fix the oil cooler that's something that was mentioned by the other guy also. I relayed, says replace tie rod, some there, there's some, the hydraulic leaks weren't quoted out, and it's a pretty big deal since they emission fluid in the hydraulic lines.
Our leaf truck has always sufficed for us and done a good job in the past. I see why we don't go ahead and get our back truck fixed. Now, the thing is, if it's down, which then if we need to rent one, fine. But I think if we can get our back truck repaired and get it in operation in time, truck to be in operation, then I don't see.
Ifs, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's a couple of pretty big ifs, because you've got, if it can be fixed by either Terry or Tim Curzon in time to get the lease.
Well, that's what I just
Because we're
got
kind
through
of in the
saying,
season.
Danny.
And then is there anything that, in case this does break down? Now, I've been told, DPW, meaning Jim, and I'll just go with Jim, that when that motor was put on there and Terry overhauled it 3 years ago, that motor was too small for that truck. And it doesn't do the efficient job. Or
There's two different motors on that truck. There's a mower on the leaf vac part, and there's a motor on the truck. Well, when the motor or whatever happened last year, he said the thing worked great and he said it's a very powerful machine and needs to be taken care of. And you're talking $4,000 I already have that we spent a bunch of money on to actually put together because it was built. We're switched, I think, from one truck to a new leaf vac machine's a couple $100,000. If we take care of the only reason he said there was an issue is regular maintenance was not done, and that's a recurring. Sounds like, which is not PCI's fault. But the point is, if we fix what we have, I think it will cost to do that. We were talking about spending $4,000 on a spend under $4 to fix our leak.
you can complete it by.
You got? I don't know. I didn't look.
think he'd be for 30 days.
That was a
Oil heater for a diesel. It's gotta be, as long as you put it inside, it stays warm, it shouldn't be a problem.
No, it's leaking. It's leaking. There's
I do have
it's
one
something different.
with these quotes. We're talking about quotes and we're comparing renting to fixing, but when we're talking about these quotes, are they giving us any kind of warranty with these quotes, or are they just saying they're gonna fix it and then if it breaks down, it breaks down, or?
Well, the fixes that you're seeing here is the engine heater is actually, oh my God, I don't know exactly, but I looked at it. It's a little reservoir on the side of the there, and it's rusty. It's very rusty, and it's dripping oil. It's some sort of recirculation.
Well, I wanted to comment first, but the initial about repair was, did we want to spend that money or put that money towards the plow trucks? That was the concern that brought all this together. I'm still in the process of trying to get active quotes on the plow trucks. Are in just as much disarray as the leaf truck.
But that doesn't mean that we don't. Because
let me know how it's. Do we want to? I didn't want to get with the police car without talk. We want to kind of put that money into the plows.
So are you saying if we fix the leaf back plow trucks?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I gotta say here, no, you guys.
Well, you know, I'm a little $1,000 to fix the leaf back, or $4,000 to. Didn't want to spend the money so we could spend it on the plow trucks. I'm confused.
That's right.
Because we're talking about spending $4,000 no matter what,
I
it sounds
wasn't
like.
intending on spending $4,000. Our discussion
Okay.
and what we found out, the desire was to have it back. We went out and got information, a solution to the problem.
Okay.
That's where it came up with that. Time was running short on whether we fixed it, obviously, from what I just heard about. And I never got that second quote, so I don't know any information and I can't comment on it.
But hypothetically, we're saying that the $4,000 that we were going to spend, or it was actually said to be $6,000 estimated to fix the leaf vac machine at the last meeting. It was decided that we'd be better off spending that on the plow trucks, and then, so if we spent the $4,000 like Lynn said on a rental or whatever it is, then where are you pulling out the money for the plow trucks? And I don't like making decisions with no numbers in front of me, and no one has shown me that we do or we don't have money to fix the plow trucks and do the leaf machines or anything like that. And to just say that we don't have it, but then all of a sudden you can come up with it here and there, I
We weren't
don't.
here when we had the
Well,
budgets.
If I may, I would have loved to have brought you a packet of information that has, this is a quote from this company to do this work, and here's a comparison quote with a different company.
But you didn't.
However, I had council members attend the session, and somehow the person that was meant to give our DPW the quote got confused and gave the quote to one of the council members.
Okay.
And that's either one of you being there.
I disagree.
However,
I think that you are doing this on purpose.
it makes it very difficult for me to
Well-
I have a concern, yeah, and this is just a concern, because we were told originally that no other towns around us backed leaves. You couldn't find anybody who backed
No,
leaves.
that, it was,
We were
it
told
was about the
that.
pickup.
Guys, we're not gonna sit here, I mean, we go back and forth, costs and everything
Well,
else.
Let's
I'm-
just vacuum up their
I make a
leaves.
motion that we get the machine fixed for under $4,000. I give, for whatever quotes we can do under $4,000, and,
Did Terry give us a timeline? Mark, did Terry give us a?
I don't know what the availability is on that, and with the buses and everything,
so there's a motion on,
There's a motion on the table.
fix the
Say it
leaf
again,
at, to fix the machine for under $4,000. That basically puts the ball in Ryan's court.
Can I have a second,
Okay, right.
please?
Well, I'm liking it, but I'd like to also know and put in that, amend that, to make sure that if we're gonna go that route, that is gonna be fixed and ready to run when we are gonna need it.
Right, that's my big concern.
Yeah,
So do you wanna amend your motion?
No. I want to make sure it's fixed. And there's no guarantee. That would fall on Ryan to try to get it fixed in a timely manner for under the $4,000, I guess.
But Tim just said he didn't know he could guarantee that.
He didn't give us a deadline either. That would be up to Ryan to get back with them,
Yeah,
do all the legwork.
what happens if they can't do it?
There's a second?
Yeah, Jim's seconded it.
I should,
No,
well, no, I,
Motion on the table,
You just sell the leaf vac machine.
yes. Is
I'll second.
There's a second. Any more discussion?
I can't, in good conscience, motion without knowing if, he's going to be able to do
Well-
it in the time that.
The way I look at it is we're going to need the machine anyway. It's good to we have and fix what we have. If they can get it done in time, great. If they can't, it's already been put out in the paper that everyone's supposed to bag their leaves. This year, it's an inconvenience. The reason that I want to see it fixed is not because of the inconvenience right now. You can sit in the Quonset for a year, and then next year we're at the same thing. It still needs to be fixed. We don't do it. End up, where we're not doing it. We're always bagging it because people can live with an inconvenience, but they don't want to lose that service for good.
They don't wanna lose.
This year even. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, this year, period, flat out.
Everybody I
All right.
talk to.
Any more discussion?
I move to kill the motion.
You can't.
Just thought I'd try.
That's a good try.
So I'll have to remember that one.
Sorry,
No,
Brad.
it's just gonna be,
I'd like to have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Koenig,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner, Councilmember Hicks,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes,
Council,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer,
Yes.
Yes. Remember, these quotes by other people.
Yep.
And second of all, too, it's money we're investing in our own merchandise, our own equipment we have here. It's just, you're driving to work every day. Do I keep putting money in it? Do I buy a new one? Well, you don't have money to buy a new one. Fix what you got so you get to work today.
Okay, I have a
Alright.
question though, because what if Ryan, they were, November 3rd through the 7th, so that's 2 weeks. So if Ryan goes out and gets this leaf back in 2 weeks, then what?
Then he's gonna come back to us and say he couldn't do it.
I'm gonna try very hard to make it happen.
And second of all, when we rent one, could be the time it's snowing outside, and it's kinda damn hard to suck up leaves when you got 6 inches of snow in the ground.
It was done
So I'm
last
just
year, I
saying,
think.
we
or
just
the year
gotta
before.
hurry up, let's get some quotes, let's push some contractors, let's get it fixed, let's get it done, instead of sitting here and argue about it.
I agree.
Well, because the people expect the services. They've had
You
the
got
service
it.
in the past and they
That's right.
expect it now.
So let's move on.
Fall trash cleanup is the next thing there.
trash pickup, that's the other thing everybody's upset about.
Well, I'm in good conscience, I can't say that we shouldn't do that trash pickup. I know it's a tough time right now to where we're asked to do more with less, but to drop this on the citizens, I'm not sure how it got in the paper that we said we weren't going to do that because we never voted on that. With that being said, I'm going to make a motion that we do the fall trash pickup the traditional manner that we have in the past, and we can in the spring, but for right now, I think we need to do fall
And I
trash
support it.
pickup.
Any more discussion?
Just go. I've had several people come in, city people come into the shop, and they said if they had to make a choice between the leaf and the trash pickup, they'd go with the leaf pickup for right now.
But you know what's interesting? If you drive around town, there's trash.
Right.
All
And
up-
already out, it's been
all up by
out
the
for 2
streets.
months.
All right, thanks a lot. So that's discussion. Any more discussion?
Yeah, can we explore having trash pickup, say, during the week where it might be cheaper than picking it up on Saturday?
It's a good suggestion.
That's a
Those
really
guys
good
have
idea.
jobs though. The guys that would be here on the weekend doing the overtime drive their regular routes
Yeah,
during the
they-
week.
That's-
We that, and that was the issue is that they've already got their routes booked, and the trucks are booked as well.
That's understandable, and that's something we can revisit for next spring. That's
Right.
something that we need to talk to Reliable about adding that into their contract, which it should have been in the first place. But for right now, we need to provide this service that we've been providing to our citizens for 15 years, so
I-
I'm gonna stick with my motion.
So
We
the
got a
table's
motion and
been
a second.
second.
One second.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next one is the DPW report and PCI contract.
For this, I think we'll start off with, there was a written report, there was a request for more information breaking out between the major streets and the local streets. That was emailed out today and their copies were printed out here. And I understand that there's some additional questions that you want some additional breakout. If you could kind of help PCI and I better understand what in the report, that'd be helpful. And I think one way of doing that and why I wanted to them listed with the PCI contract, this really is where Mark and I making our negotiations is what of the DPW, and I sent out in the packet list that Steve Lauder had, and I don't know how many years before he started it came from, but it broke out the different various functions of the DPW, and it has a list of all the things included in the water, all the included in sewer, all the services for Major Street and local, so broken out between bridges, traffic, winter maintenance, and so on. There's also, and from I found 2 of those areas are actually not ours, so that was valuable to know. And a list of mowing, including sticks, trimming brush, removing garbage, and every spring or as needed to take care of tables, fix take any buildings or shelf posts or railings, and weekly to, if there's any area, to take care of that, and empty trash cans, checking bathrooms. I think everyone kind of is on the same page with all the classics, like the cemetery as well. Where the real questions came in is with this big public service. And that's the page that I really wanted to talk to the council about. This is kind of a 10 pounds going into a 1 pound bag. Some of the things that are listed here is delivering racks, that's the roll-away carts, and removing roll-away carts. Those are the reliable disposal, the 96-gallon roll-off carts. And also the delivery and removing of recycling containers. These are services that are covered under the reliable contract. I don't know why DPW ever was really involved in those things. And so since I've been here, I've been like, no, those are stuff that we're paying someone to do, don't do it. Other things, taking care of snow and mowing the lawn around public buildings. There's a separate budget area that talks about City Hall, a separate budget area that talks about the library. Those were those things that should be allocated, and they really shouldn't have been allocated in this catch-all. And that's a correction that we're going to be making in the future, so we can better track our expenses, so we don't have a big lump catch-all that includes things that it really shouldn't. So that's breaking out the public buildings, breaking out this trash. So that kind of reduced our public service category to chipping brush, picking up bags of leaves and leaf vacuuming. And then it also broke it out into, also the fall and spring cleanup is amongst that stuff. And then there's, separate from that, there's the things that we do for the DDA, which I've asked the executive director of the DDA to have that be on the proposed agenda for this coming Wednesday. There was a big confusion about the banners, and that's something that the DPW didn't quite understand, the responsibility there, and I've talked with Mark about that. He understands it, that shouldn't be a problem in the future. Other DDA functions that the DPW participates in are things like the Christmas lights, said for festivals, which festivals really isn't necessarily DDA though. So I don't know why that was listed in the old DPW report like that, because setting up for festivals is separate. And then the downtown street lights. And then separate from all those is also anything done for code enforcement related stuff, like if there's a dilapidated building where it needs to be boarded up for the code enforcement action, that should really be considered a code enforcement part of the budget. It really shouldn't be lumped in with public service, because then you can't track those things like they should be tracked. Other than that, there's motor equipment, and I already mentioned about the library and City Hall being separate things. But kind of looking through this list and looking through the report that PCI came up with that has, the water reports and sewer and, all that stuff, breaking out those different functions. What what is lacking? What is too much? What is not, what needs to happen?
I can tell you where I'm a little concerned with, because I'm not understanding why our admin is our biggest expense on here. What does all that entail? Because that's the biggest expense that I'm seeing on this page here for labor hours and monthly costs under finance.
Mark?
For us, our
Yeah.
admin will cover, it covers all our insurance, covers all our bonding, all that not, in a function of a water or sewer, which would, or have another line number, that's on there. Use as a day-to-day business. What we do, when I say day-to-day business, is to run here. There's a lot of catch-all stuff. Safety equipment is on that as well. There's a huge caveat of admin. When in historical contracts and stuff that I've worked, you have a breakdown of your majors, your labor, then you have your utilities, which we didn't have it broke down because they were sewer, water. Then you'll have your chemicals, which is another high dollar cost if you use a lot of commodities. You do subcontractors. Then you'll do materials, which is your consumables. Those are things that you do in the course of running the utility, which would be your concrete, your asphalt, your sands, and that kind of stuff. And then everything else that's not in the above codes falls into admin. And we can break it out. It's just that's what we were accustomed to do. So that's kind of why we had to start somewhere, because we really didn't have anything to go.
No, that's fine. I'm just questioning that because I saw admin was the biggest thing, and
That will probably, that changes as the time goes, because everything was kind of at startup, so we're still trying to get caught up on a lot of stuff.
I guess I have a question about this entire process. To me, this looks like you're kind of asking us to build an RFP, and I sent an email out, and I'm sure the other council members too. There was not a request for proposal put out. We didn't see competing quotes. I don't think that what Ryan brought forward to the council before accurate when he said that Wade Trim wasn't able to go apples for apples. There are companies out there, and I think it's a lot of money. It's a big contract, and it wouldn't be right for us to not put it out for and build what we expect them to do. And I think they're kind of expecting the same thing from us. Well, we want to know what you're expecting from us because we haven't done that. And it would only make sense, the proper way to do that, to hire anybody in that sort of situation, would put out a request. And I'd like to make a motion that we have Ryan develop a request for proposal and bring it back to the council at the next meeting and let us go over it and see where we're at.
I question the legality of that, only in that the city council approved the letter of understanding with TCI. If it's a mutual arrangement that if it would benefit both parties to that letter of understanding, then PCI could certainly be on board, and if the council to approve the action, I would just simply make contact with the council for PCI, let them know the council would like to go through this process so that they know, or if they have any objection to it. But I'm not prepared to give an opinion tonight whether or not the letter of understanding would even allow you to do it. And that letter
So
of
next time-
understanding was approved by this council.
So next time you,
Well, I guess from a Luke standpoint too, we've been talking contracts since June. And it's almost, it's mid, almost in October. How long are we gonna keep going through talking, direction we're going unless we get a contract?
That's a very good point, and that'll be part of my opinion, that the length of time that it's taking to come up with the final terms could present a problem for both sides. So that's why I would like to have the opportunity to report back to the council after consulting with counsel for PCI, see if there's a mutual understanding we could reach that would allow us to go through this process.
and do it the right way.
So I am not of the opinion that it was done wrong.
And for the benefit of the audience, when Steve Lauder announced his retirement, there was a very short window, and the council had asked for several different options to be investigated, including checking with our neighboring jurisdictions to see if anyone wanted to do a shared service agreement, which I did contact the Village of Paw Paw, the City of South Haven, the City of Hartford, and I contacted Lawrence. Village of Lawrence actually has a professional service contract with a company like PCI called Wade Trim, and I had asked them for a proposal. I had also asked Fleece and Vandenbrink, and another company that, like PCI, does this kind of thing. In addition to that, we advertised to Public Works. We did not get very much interest in what we had advertised it for. We tried to re-advertise it. It really didn't get any.
Did you say that you asked to provide a quote?
Yes, Wade Trim did supply.
It was my understanding that they supplied a quote. They had contacted you and showing interest in the DPW director position. Okay, so they didn't give a quote for the same thing that PCI did. Is that correct?
Not the same
Okay.
thing. It would be where the company was supplying
Were they
person.
asked to provide the same quote?
They were told the same thing that PCI was told, and the same thing that Fleece and Vandenbrink was told. They were explained what we had going on, that we had a need for someone to help us with our public works, that there was going to be this vacancy after retirement. We're told what our DPW does, and they were told, please provide a proposal.
Well, it was my understanding that after they had contacted you showing interest in that position, that they provided a quote for that, and they called back to check on that quote. And you had asked them, with not even a week's lead time, to provide the same sort of the I had. And so they felt they were not able to, they weren't given the opportunity to bid on that, and I think that it's in the city's best interest to find out, you know, it puts us in a real bad situation to enter into some sort of situation without having any other options. And I think that's what we did.
There
So
was many options that were considered back when Steve Lauder was retiring.
I'm talking about that specific avenue. As far as contracting out the entire public works and not getting competing bids on that.
Competing proposals were asked for.
I guess my
Fleece
motion
and
is off the
Vandenbrink
table now. I'm just
decided
looking
to
for
not
the city
submit
attorney
the
to come back
proposal.
to us the next time and give us his opinion on that so that we can make sure we're doing what we should be.
And I realize the frustration of council about it taking so long, but if I had an accurate list of what the city was responsible for that didn't have properties on it that we don't even own, and if it didn't have things in there that were the contract responsibility of a different company, and I didn't have these other things that had to work out, like the list of 30 things that I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of things going on, and part of being in a small unit of government is I've got a general election with Kim that we run together. We're too small. Kim is only one person. She can't do it herself. I'm on the election commission with her, and I'm her deputy clerk. There's a lot of different things that happen here, and it takes a lot of work. And I realize the frustration that it's taken as long as it has. But I ask you to remember our starting point. And part of that starting point includes, I received a final notice from the DNR about a grant, 4 different grants that needed to have its reports turned in 15 months before I even started here. 15 months ago, I mean. That's well before I started here. And that's not the only final notice I've received. I've received several others. That's a heck of a point to start from. I'm trying to catch up on a lot of stuff here.
What we're gonna have to do, like I said, let Brian do his job to a certain extent. We still have to protect the city. And no matter what the city, we always need plan A, plan B, plan C. Because time we do a contract, it might be one PCI won't even like either. It's not just intent to be a mutual relationship that's gonna benefit us both. And from our standpoint, our obligation to the citizens of these people of Bangor is that we have to do what's best in their interest And like I said, part of that is, we can still negotiate with PCI, but let's not be fools either, and be prepared if we have to go Plan B or Plan C, and we're ready for that.
What do we need to continue the negotiation with PCI?
Yes.
I don't know why you're looking.
Additional information that you need?
No, I
PCI's
think we are, right?
PCI's attorneys provided a draft contract. I made revisions to that draft contract to make sure that it was responsive to the city council, meaning that the city council had a little more oversight in it than originally proposed. It then was provided back to the city manager, who has been working on a daily basis, or close to daily basis, as I understand it, with PCI representatives to make sure that the city knows what PCI is going to be doing under that contract, and vice versa. The PCI has an understanding of what's expected of it, and it's waiting for those final terms to be hashed out. And so I'm prepared to offer it to the city council at any time that the city manager brings it back to me in its final form, after those discussions with PCI are complete.
And I'll definitely make it a top priority to get it done as quickly as I can.
Do you have any idea, Ryan, considering?
At this point, I really want to make sure I bring it back to you by the next meeting. That's what I'm hearing. This is job number one, bar all others.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. Don't forget about the Leaf Act.
Indeed.
The leaf act should be number one priority, and then kicked off immediately.
Yes.
Well, we're anxious, and PCI's gotta be anxious,
Right.
Being in limbo here is no good.
Well, it's not good for them to have stuff come to their attention that they don't expect to have to do. It's, you know, it's a really bad situation for them to not know what work we expect of them.
Since we got this breakdown, PCI late today, question for you, what are our billable rates on our own vehicles? Like the 85, F-150,
Where does that money go?
is that something we're paying them, or is that a depreciation on the vehicle, or what is that?
These are numbers that account for Act 51.
Okay.
They're not a real true.
Okay.
We don't bill back the city.
Okay.
It's an accountability process that we account by. Anything that we do that has to have those numbers accompanied with it, because they give us the money and then we have to justify the expenditures on the way back. So you're gonna see a lot of the stuff that looks like, well, there are vehicles, but they're billed back to state funds. So we have to track it in that form. It's kind of an awkward form.
How many employees do you have?
In Bangor, we have 4 that are actual Bangor employees. You have on staff working for Bangor right now, we have 8.
I was just looking at the hours that you charge back to the roads. 465 hours. Remember? That's too much. They're almost out there every day out on the roads.
Yep. Yes, they were.
Even when, and now,
We had a couple days where it was drizzling and rainy that we had to, it wasn't supposed to rain, but we got the asphalt, so we really didn't have much choice. We had to put it down.
any more discussion on the DPW report and PCI contract?
No.
Okay, let's go down the list. New business, Halloween.
Yes, I understand that the council selects the time and date of Halloween, and it's been proposed to celebrate Halloween on Friday of Halloween, the 31st, between, what was it then?
5 and 7.
5 and 7. And there's been a lot of interest on the city's Facebook page what the official time is. I had a conversation just last night with someone about it on Facebook. So there's a lot of interest, and if it's the will of the council to celebrate at that time or some other, please.
I thought traditionally we did an hour and a half, didn't we? 5:30 to 7.
We've actually
It's been about
usually
2
from
hours.
5 to 7.
Yeah, about
It's
5
been
to
the
7.
traditional.
I'd like to make a motion that we set the date for the 31st at between the hours of 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. for our holiday.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Apple Fest?
on Apple Fest. The question that I know the answer the council could help with is basically whether or not this is a city function. And my understanding is that community function, the city contributed funds beginning years ago with the expectation of being repaid, but ultimately that doesn't happen. And so the city, as I understand it, still contributes funds, which is something I need to know to offer proper advice, and to a community event that it's not getting repaid for. And so if I'm correct on that, that's what I need to confirm.
I believe that's so, yes.
Yes, that's correct.
As
This
approved
is the
money.
money going through.
Yeah, the money's going through the city, for sure.
Doesn't
It has
we
been.
write the checks,
Mhm.
receive the money and.
The checks come into the city of Bangor City Hall, and the checks that are cut from the city of Bangor for the Apple Festival.
So does that help define it?
It creates, it doesn't help. I would like specific instructions trying to accomplish with this agenda item.
I think it needs to be a city function, the same as any of the other festivals like the 4th of July and all. Basically, the structure I'd like to see is a city council representative as a chairperson, a secretary, a treasurer, so we can monitor all funds and minutes and keep minutes to provide to the council, and have members to help with the legwork and doing all the busy work around. That is my ideal structure, but if you're telling me we can't do that because.
No, you certainly can do that. Question of making sure that if city funds are being expended, the city has to pay. So, the proper way to go about doing that, if that is the question, I would like to have an opportunity to review to exactly what it is you need to do.
How long do you think that'll take? Because one of the issues that we've had in the past is just not having the structure there and the accountability, and wrap up last year's stuff, among other things, and it's hard to work on the festival when you don't have clear structure.
What the city will be doing will be moving forward. You really won't be able to use what I give you and have it work backward because after the fact.
Right. No.
So yes, though, is that I will have something for you for the next meeting. That's right. As long as my understanding is what I will bring to you is an understanding of the current setup, the history behind the money, and what the city needs to do to assert control over the money if the city is of a mind to continue to fund the event.
Was that, Fred, was that in a form of a motion then, what you?
No,
Well, no,
I'm
'cause
gonna
we
give
need to wait for
Brian
Brian
the
to come back
opportunity to
and-
come back with his research.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
more
you.
discussion on that?
That helped me, thank you.
Going down the list is Parks and Recreation Advisory Board recommendation, the loose logo art contest.
Just discussed Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting, and it's something that back a year ago, the city council approved a grant from the farmers market who applied to the Southwest Michigan Association of Realtors. And so back a year ago, the council was getting the stuff, I guess I'll call it. And my understanding from that motion was, the repairs to it would not be the character of it. So that it would be yellow, it would have a on it, and there had to be some level of confusion in there there was a desire to make sure that the seal was done before or after, but what we here is a seal that was smaller than I think, and so the Parks and Rec Board discussed it, and it's their recommendation to the council that the city sponsor an art contest to design a logo that would be painted what I'll call full size, the size as it had been before, and whoever wins could then draw it in the recommendation.
contest to? Just
It
anybody
was
at large?
to anyone at large, to make sure to know the schools that they, so that they know, but anyone would be able to.
When we had figured there was enough time, and this would kind of be a good time to do it, since there's not going to be a logo put up at this point on the side of it. And we talked about the vinyl and all the different the issues there, because we just came to the conclusion it'd be better to put it back how it was, and we thought it'd be cool. It's been a long time since their contest to do that, and
Is the roof and everything been covered on it?
Sure, I think
yeah, it's ready.
yeah.
It's ready.
Approval?
I'll make a motion to allow the Parks and Rec Advisory Board's recommendation to have a Caboose logo art contest, allowing anyone at large to participate.
Did you get the deadline in there for that?
I
With
don't
the
think I
deadline,
have that
Was it
right
March
here.
31st or
Was
something?
it March 31st?
March
is what we
31st.
said.
With the deadline of March 31st to have all in to the city.
Oh,
Okay, we got a second on it?
Yeah, Danny.
Yeah.
All right, any more discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next one is the state truck line maintenance contract.
For this one, this is a standard contract that the Michigan Department of Transportation draws up, and they share with all jurisdictions that have a situation like ours where there's a trunk line that the local contribute services such as plowing snow from the parking spaces. MDOT will still be plowing snow from the motor vehicle lanes as travel, but snow removal for there and similar services that MDOT, they to approve each time it happens, and then they would reimburse the city for us doing those services. And the benefit to the city is if it gives us money for that first, and secondly, MDOT doesn't plow snow away from our on-street parking along M43. So if they didn't do that, then we'd either have to do it ourselves without getting reimbursed or getting reimbursed. So
I have had an opportunity to review the contract. It's not out of the, it's the contract of communities that have the truck line issue going through, so questions regarding the contract. I have no hesitancy in recommending that it's okay.
So do you need a motion for us to approve the maintenance contract? Okay, I make a motion that we approve the state trunk line contract.
I'll second.
and does that need to be roll call?
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Koenig,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner, Councilmember Hicks,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Frye,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Householder.
Yes, motion approved. Going down the list was police chief hiring process.
For this item, I've talked quite a bit with our acting chief of police, Chief Pompey, who's on loan to us from the good folks in Coloma. And he's been advising me on how chief hiring have been. I've also reached out to Larry Nielsen and some other folks that I know in the public administration realm. And I say that I'm supposed to, but obviously I want to have the input from the council and from the community, and also because the DD is very helpful for police-related functions, for things like bicycle patrol. I think it's important to have their involvement as well. It's advised that it's, and others have advised that it's a really good idea someone with technical expertise that would be able to say, well, that's a BS answer kind of thing, or, this is a good, someone who knows their stuff kind of thing. So usually, the county sheriff is asked to have someone like a lieutenant or a sergeant, appointed or added to the group, and also a local chief of police within this county. I asked Chief Pompey if he'd be interested in serving, and he said that he really did not want to. that it was really more appropriate for someone that's inside the county to be a part of that group. And they would be happy to help out behind the scenes anywhere he could, and he'd do the background check and that kind of thing. So I said, okay. And so I kind of have in my mind, worked out through his, who the, going through the sheriff and going through someone in the county's chief of police. But I would like to make sure I get someone from the council and someone from the DDA. And also, I think it would be appropriate to get citizens just to, so I'd like to ask, I know that we have a council member who the police committee before, who's also on the DDA, who's also school-age children, and think of other applications in addition to being a really awesome and great guy that might be willing to, for a short assignment that won't take very long.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay.
Why wouldn't,
At this time?
why wouldn't the police committee involved in this as well?
Because it's
Well,
in process.
The police committee's in the process of getting established. I really want to rock and roll as quickly as possible. Chief Pompey a few days ago was counting down to 20 days, and I'm like, I don't know if we're going to be able to get it built within 20 days, but he's been a really good sport about it. But I do want to make sure, like he said, that we do full advisement, and also I want to make sure we do have someone from the DDA, and so Wednesday meeting, I would like to ask the DDA.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, so I think there's plenty, and it would be great from the and go from there. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
When is the meeting?
Well, I think part of that too, we need to look at our structure. Why are we're talking, this is a right to work state. So why wouldn't we have a regular plan drawn up where we're not doing contracts? I mean, most people have normal jobs like me and Fred and other people. We don't have a, we hire in, we take what it is, and
If you have an applicant who's willing to come work for you as a chief of police, you can do that, but I don't think you'll find that to be the case.
Okay.
I think this is going to expect an agreement of sorts
okay.
that will be worked out. The charter does say that the city manager is the one who does the hiring of the chief of police. However, the council say on the final individual selection, and any that is approved has to be approved by the council.
Council.
502 is appointment of the chief of police.
My advice to this council is also going to be that you would want to have the same number, just so that you're on an, if there's a contract that's there, keep it expectantly.
So we like where you're going with council to the council.
Council to the council. It's that.
Has there been a date set yet?
No. After I get the DDA and get the sheriff and the local chief of police, and it'll be in pretty short order though, and I'll be in contact with you guys, and we'll get something set up.
So we stopped taking in applications for the chief on the 10th,
That's correct.
and so
How many did
are
we
we
get?
going to see the applications? Is that going to go out in a
anytime you
packet?
wanna stop into City Hall, you can look through all. They do have social security numbers on these. There's an awful lot of pages. I could go through and make copies, but I'd have to didact some of the stuff to redact. Yes, but if you, so it's like 14, you could just stop in at City Hall and look through it if you were interested in it.
anything else on this? The next one is a check issuing procedure.
To prepare a resolution for tonight on this issue. I do not have a resolution, but I did want to advise the council on why not. And looking into the issue was, it was my understanding, there was a great deal of concern in the entire council that checks were issued last month prior to the meeting of the council. Checks were issued specifically to the DA and the fire board. It was monies that were collected by the city treasurer that were what we call pass-through monies, or the official term is tax increment revenue. And what The city treasurer collects the taxes as billed to the property owners within the city. And those taxes are several millages, for some of which in this community happen to be a DDA board. But you also have an extensive list that the city treasurer collects taxes for. It is very important, and I followed the mayor's lead on this because something just didn't seem quite right at the last meeting about why there was so much concern over that. I recognize the council's concern that checks were approval, and I kept trying to couch it in terms of this was a bill being paid and absolutely cannot be paid, and checks issued to pay bills of the city of Bangor without prior approval by the council. But it was not a bill payment, it was a disbursement of tax revenue. And it is really important for the council to understand that your city treasurer did not act inappropriately. You should have a policy and a procedure in place regarding checks, check numbers, how to follow the money, so to speak. Absolutely, and I agree with the auditor, Mr. Gerbil, for the comments that he had. I will tell you that the taxes collected by the treasurer were collected on the last day of September the 14th. At 5 p.m. when she closed the doors. At that moment, from that moment on, all tax payments would have had to have been made at the county. So the city treasurer had collected all that she's going to collect at that point in time. By law, not city council procedure or policy, state law, she was obligated to disperse those funds within 10 days by September the 25th, clearly before the next city council meeting. The city council had absolutely no control over those monies, none whatsoever. There was nothing the council could have done to say, no, we're not gonna pay those monies. There was nothing the city council could have done to limit the amounts paid. The city treasurer was acting as required by law to disperse those funds to the DDA and the fire board. Now, that brings me to checks being written. Absolutely, there needs to be a formal policy and procedure, but I wanted to give you a heads up that I'm going to create that policy and procedure with the assistance of Mr. Gerbil, the auditor, so that it's exactly what it needs to be to satisfy him as the auditor, the one who reviews the book, so to speak, because you're going to want to see a report about those disbursements. Dollars were collected on this date for summer taxes. The following amounts were dispersed to the taxing entities as required. That should be part of the treasurer's report. Check numbers and everything, absolutely. It would have been against the law for her not to disperse those funds. So I just wanted to clarify, a check issuing procedure is coming. So hopefully I can get with Mr. Gerbil in time again for the next meeting. That's all I have.
More discussion on it? The list is the quarterly budget amendment.
Yes, for this, charter requires us to review the budget and then make an amendment. Since the budget was first approved, there's been a few changes the council has made regarding Chief Pompey as an appropriate term that does not say bullet request, which is fine, but
Resistant.
Bullet resistant.
there we go, thank you. If there's, so those changes have been made, and with the I've got Lisa hiding out to help out, but
Actually, there's a lot of questions.
okay.
And I think we need a separate meeting to almost go line by line.
Okay.
Because I do see revisions, and then there's some where budget was revised, was already spent.
Okay.
So, you know, and I,
Yeah, Lisa.
actually,
Yeah.
you know, actually, I'm not trying to criticize,
Mhm.
I'm just trying
Sure.
to make sure.
Abs-
we can get it.
Right, I understand. And part of this is we're PCI. I know there's going to be more amendments when that contract does.
Sure, these are your proposed budget amendments for the first fiscal year. And, what I have done is taken the amendments that you guys have suggested on your and tried to accomplish that without changing the, bottom line numbers, right. We budget by, activity. That means we have to make sure that each activity, like, fund, it would be the council, the treasurer, that bottom line cannot be over budget. Line items, if they are over, you can take from one line item and move it to another line item to make it fit. And that's what I've tried to do in each of these. This is my recommendation to you based on the decisions that you have made, and you need to approve this or make changes so that you can approve it, stay within your charter recommendations, and have a quarterly budget amendment. In the future, probably Brian will want to address this to an additional guidance for us, is that before we make motions to spend money, we need to amend it. So we want to make sure our budget's in line before we spend the money and make the allocations. But I've tried to match up everything that you guys has been able to work on so far, so that you have stayed in budget. If you compare the budget that we approved back in June to the bottom line of these, all of these still do match. I'm not gonna promise you that that continues to happen. We're gonna have, if you wanna spend more money, we're gonna have to look into fund balance, because there's not enough money to accomplish the things that you wanna accomplish. Now, where you're seeing a lot of overages in the line items is because we still are working out our contract with PCI, and I didn't want to move all of those line items before we knew where they're supposed to go. It would just be extra work now to change them before we have a final decision on where they're gonna go. So those are kind of the guidelines I use to make what I've had. And again, this is up to you to approve and to make changes or whatever. This is just my outline to bring you in compliance with the chart.
Is there a deadline on?
You're supposed to do it quarterly.
But
So we just
could we
completed our
have, could we
first
have
quarter.
another meeting so that we could just focus on this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, good, you know, we're gonna end up talking about this for hours, 2 hours, and people here aren't gonna wanna listen. They don't wanna even know what we're talking about.
And plus the fact we get late till Friday night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it takes a little more time to review and understand it. So, I think what we need to do is have a special meeting,
We'd like to have a
and we
special
need to
meeting.
review this before we can improve it.
Okay, when would you like to?
Just so, Lisa, so you
Sure.
could explain, you know, really well to us so we get it. So, okay, okay.
When would you guys like to meet? In 1 week is Apple Fest at 5, but you guys could meet at 7 and give them 2 hours. That should be enough time.
Are you talking about the
27?
27
What time is the Apple Fest?
at 5.
So we'll meet
And
at
that-
7?
And
That
you could
leaves
meet
it
here at
s-
7 and, 2 hours, that should be enough for Apple Fest, shouldn't it? Okay. Did you wanna look at maybe Tuesday?
About Tuesday?
I won't be in town on Tuesday.
Okay. Well, not election day is what I know.
Next week's better, I mean.
Okay. Next week doesn't sound good for you, okay?
What do we get this week?
29th is cemetery.
We got this week.
29th is cemetery.
Is there a way sliding in this week?
Thursday?
What do we get this week?
This week
The
is all right.
23rd is
Thursday.
housing 4, but that shouldn't matter.
Thursday, 7 o'clock?
It really doesn't make a partner with my wife, but,
Someone's.
DDA. And then there's the Wellhead Protection Plan Committee earlier.
That's on
Second.
On the
Thursday, the
22nd, is
30th.
that what you said, or did you say a different
He
day?
was, I think
Thursday,
now he was going.
30?
He was pointing
Well, I
to the
think Friday.
30th. That's Halloween.
I also have a commitment.
Or-
We're on the 31st.
No, 24.
I won't
That,
be here.
I definitely agree with my wife that I cannot change that.
Yeah, I will
Can we
not.
push that
I
to
will
the
not be
first week
here.
of November?
We can probably.
That's election week, please be careful.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did really rough. Did you say the 30th? 30th, that's
I asked
Halloween
about the
Eve.
30th.
Busy all week.
Okay.
There was nothing, 27th, 28th, nothing that we could do, you're all booked that week.
I gotta work and I'll be out of town until the 28th until like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
If you make a quarterly amendment, as long as it's done before the end of this quarter, right?
Well, the quarter's passed.
They're right, so you can't make a quarterly amendment until after that quarter completes itself.
There is no time limit that it happened.
So we could do the second week in November.
As long as we do it within the next couple of months.
Do it
we're
in
fine.
January.
We're in November, so what about?
10th is pretty full, it has parks and,
All right, well, you guys decide I'm using the restroom.
What about the 11th?
11.
No.
11th is
No.
Veterans Day.
My husband said it's
12th is
Sunday.
fine. Is 12th okay with you? Or Wednesday? Okay.
Did she say that was okay?
What was your answer?
Yeah.
We're looking for
We have
12th.
an
She's all right.
12th of November?
12th of November.
All right.
You'll be back?
Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna be catching a few weeks in between.
Well, that might
It
happen.
could happen.
All right. Well,
Okay.
November 12th.
Are we gonna set a timeline for this? We're not gonna be here till 11 o'clock at
No.
night.
No.
No.
Won't be like 7 to 9 max.
Look a lot more back into it.
Yeah, 'cause
My God's birthday.
did we go this one or that one?
Take.
I'm sure I got
Well,
some.
we won't get locked in this other one.
I don't wanna be late.
I think it's my cat's birthday.
I don't even have a cat. do you?
Ooh.
Yeah, I do have a cat now. I do, actually. Yeah, he's a lovely fellow. He's really cool, man.
This leaves us with,
Any more discussion? So it looks like the quarter budget amendment will be, what date was that?
November 12th.
November 12th.
That's
All right, the next one is scheduled performance evaluation for city manager.
yes, my contract asks for the performance evaluation to be scheduled in the fall. So I would like to ask, I don't know if you want to do that on a regular meeting night as on the end of the agenda, or if you want to have it as a special night. I would like to ask that if it could please be after the general election. There's quite a lot of work for taking care of absentee ballot processing, and there's an election commission meeting. There's several other things going on with the PCI contract, the lead back, and so on. But anytime after the general election's over would work really well.
Same day as budget?
I think we should probably do it before that.
Okay.
Whether we do it, we want to do a special one on the 27th, we can do that. Or we do it our next meeting.
I thought we could do it twice. Somebody said we could get something else going on the 27th.
Yeah, we already
Lisa
went
said
through
you-
all
There's no days left on the calendar.
Yeah, but Lisa doesn't have to.
It might be best to put it on the regular meeting night on the 3rd.
Mhm.
If I could, also on this point, the contract, Ryan's contract says a couple of things about performance evaluations. And number one, the council and the city manager are required to work together to come up essentially with talking points, what they each want to see discussed at the evaluation. Seeing this on the agenda for tonight, I spoke with Ryan prior to the meeting today, and I've asked him to provide me with a list of topics or to the council, it doesn't have to go through me, but to provide the council with a list of topics that he would very much like to see addressed during the course of that meeting. I am suggesting to the council that you do the same. Doesn't have to be done at tonight's meeting, it can be done by the individual council members, whatever the council prefers on this issue. But it is readily apparent to me as the city attorney that this evaluation should be utilized as an opportunity for an airing out, because I get a lot of calls from council members, and I'm not giving anything away. It's frustrations with Ryan, I've shared that with him. I've heard his response, and so his contract requires that the city council provide that information in terms of what is expected to be discussed at that evaluation. So I encourage you as a council to provide that. And I encourage him to do the same.
So are you saying that you'd like us to email things to you?
That would be fine. That would be fine. I would like them from individual council members. My plan would be to be present for the meeting. Ryan, as the employee who's being evaluated, this is true of all employees, city employees. It's his choice whether or not he wants to have the evaluation held in closed session or not.
You make that decision tonight.
What's that?
Does he make a decision tonight?
No. He can ask for it right, that's the meeting gets started, that's his call.
Anything else from council members?
When do you want this
Let's say the Friday before that, the Halloween.
By Halloween.
Please send candy.
I don't know if I'm gonna have time to get him.
Anything else for the council members? All right, going down the list, next is opportunity for public comments. Please keep comments under 3 minutes. Please stand up.
Great. There's a lot of hostility and hurt feelings amongst the community, amongst some of the citizens, amongst some of the churches about Apple Fest and some things that were promised and not done. And I think that people want Apple Fest to stay a community, not run by the city, because there's some issues with transparency of money and agendas.
Can I have your name, please?
Ginger Davison.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. My name is Jill Blasco. I live on 319 East Arlington. I've got 2 things. It disturbs me very much to see the citizen comments put at the very end of the meeting. I feel as if you've had your discussions, you've made your votes, you've made your decisions, and we all sit here with our mouths taped shut. We have no opportunity to say anything until after it's all a done deal. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's beneficial to the town. And that, I think that it should be very much earlier in the meeting to let the citizens have their say, and so that the council can hear what we have to say and take it into account. Whereas now I feel as if, oh, you've already done your thing and we're just up here spinning our wheels. Okay, now the little people can say something, but it doesn't matter. And I think that's wrong. Second thing that I wanted to say from the beginning, if I had a chance to say it earlier. My understanding, I'm fairly new to Bangor, I've only been here 8 years, but my understanding is that Apple Festival has been a citizen committee for something like 36 years, and it has never been run by the city, and that the money runs through the city because it is a private committee, and in order so that no individual is putting money in their bank account, and how in the world do you trace that? For the sake of obvious and evident transparency and honesty, it is run through the city. But it's not city money. It's money that's donated to the Apple Festival. And it's just what you said before, revenue. It's a pass-through. That being the case, I got the impression, listening to all of you, that it was just kind of a done deal. oh, well, city money goes to fund it, so therefore it should be a city thing, and so it is a city thing, and wait a minute. No, it hasn't for 36 years been a city thing. And I don't think the citizens of this town want it to be a city thing. This is a community organization, a community effort that everybody should have a chance to be involved in. And y'all are running the city. You don't need to run the Apple Festival too. Looks to me like you've got enough to do to run the city. Let us run the Apple Festival. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Joel. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd like to say something, I'm sorry. If I step on anyone's toes, David Lamp, T&D Embroidery. I did the apple for the caboose. It doesn't look nothing like what I sent, what is his name? Who brought it to me?
Leonard.
Leonard. He brought it to me. I don't know, it was originally sent to his wife to have done. I don't know if she couldn't do it or didn't have time. They brought it to me to do. And I did the exact city logo, detail for detail. Everything in the city logo was in what I presented to them to be put on the caboose. He wanted to put it on himself, so I cut the vinyl and he weeded and put it on there. And it just didn't show up like it was supposed to. I brought an invoice to City Hall. I was then told that it was through the farmer's market. Redid the invoice for the farmer's market, presented it to Julie France. We then talked about how it didn't look right, how they wanted it to be larger. We went down and measured the caboose for a new logo. We talked to Ryan about it. He went over that the grant there was enough money in the grant to cover a new logo. I took that as a go-ahead for a new logo and ordered vinyl to cover the new size logo. I'm just trying to figure out where I am because now there's a contest to paint the caboose.
How much, if it's okay to ask, how much is that material?
The vinyl itself,
yeah.
I ordered 3 rolls at 10 yards at $65 a roll, so $180,
So it's something we should definitely talk about.
And I'm still
Right.
running on a invoice that I don't know where that ended up.
Okay.
So that is my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Do I have to stand?
Yes.
Julie Grants. I too would like to have public comment be on the agenda and then at the end, as it used to be, to allow for anybody to present any concerns to council to consider, possibly. I would like to also, in government classes, kids are taught government works with 3 functions: executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch. City council is legislative. You set your policy. Then you have an executive branch who carries it out. It's very important for effective government to stick to their areas. Stick to what you're supposed to be doing, setting policy and letting your executives carry that out. As to the trash pickup, there are individual people who, they write on their trucks, pick up trash, that sort of thing. You could consider getting quotes from those individuals for picking up the large trash in the community. You might find a much better deal going with them. And lastly, it's really important for people to speak in a respectful manner. It does not reflect well on city council when at least 2 city council members are speaking disrespectfully during the meeting. It's not okay. It looks poorly on the city. Okay?
Thank you. Any more comments? All right, moving down the list. Next one is board and commission appointment. Let's go with names and then appointments as needed.
Yes, for this, the DDA board has a member-at-large opening, and I understand that there's someone that has interest in that, and that the DDA board on Wednesday will have a chance to review that candidate, and if they make a recommendation to you guys, then you guys could endorse that. The Economic Development Corporation does have openings on its board, and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board does still have an opening. Senior Services Agency Board does have a need for a city representative. There's an opening on the Tree Board, and there's openings on the Zoning Board of Appeals. So anyone interested in the audience that's not already on 18 different boards?
Moving down the list is council members' comments. Start out with you, Danny.
I'm good for today.
Freddie?
I think I'm all set. I talked about everything earlier, so I think I'm good.
Harold?
I think I've talked enough tonight. No more comments.
Jim?
I don't have anything to say at this time.
Lynn?
I think we've covered everything.
I do have a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank Kim for the lovely new bulletin board in City Hall. It looks very, very nice.
Teachers recognize other teachers in that.
That must be it. And then also, it was very nice, the representation at Alice Kristen's ceremony at the fire station. That was very nice, and thank you for all coming. It was very lovely. I am concerned, and I have voiced this to Becky Clark about how she always puts our city in a negative light, and I don't know what to do to make her, see the good things that we're doing here. And my last concern is that Weber Oil has always been very, very supportive of our community, and when whoever made the decision to go to the cards and do something different, we took a great deal of business away from them, and they have done a lot of things to help us out. When we had the storms, they actually filled our city trucks. I don't know that when we had a power outage that Speedway could do that. They also made sure that there was a berm there, so if there was ever an overflow, it would not go someplace, and they also put a nozzle on the tanks down there that would prevent that from happening. So I just want to voice my concern that we've kind of shut out a local business once again to switch to a different thing. And like I said, I don't know who made that decision, but I just wanted to voice my opinion on, they've been always very, very good to our community, and it makes me really sad that we would choose to do that. So that's it.
Luke?
Well, I have a couple questions, I guess. One of those was there was a motion made to give the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem keys. Did that happen? If not, when is that going to happen?
No, I'm sorry, that has not happened yet. I ran into a concern. Ordinarily, the election equipment closet would have a key to it. This is our election equipment closet. After the election commission meets, they have to certify that the premise are secure, and until we get through this election and get a chance to get a different door for this area, we really can't do that quite yet. All the other folks in here count as election inspectors as one of our hats. So as soon as we get a chance to get this worked out,
Okay.
after the election, we'll.
Well, guys, that's where a little common sense comes in. You get a cable with a lock, and you can lock it up that way. That becomes secure. I mean, we don't have to go out and buy elaborate doors. We just use a little common sense on certain things.
No offense to anybody, but my personal opinion on that is that when a motion's made, there's always a way found to not do that, and there's always ways to solve that problem. And I feel that we wiggle around that sometimes to not do it. But at any rate, the fuel tanks, I'm concerned about that too. I think it's a serious issue when we don't have power for 3 days and there's nowhere to fill up the tanks. or fill up the trucks, city trucks, the fire department, or, you know, we don't want them having to drive 20 miles outside of our area to get fuel if there's an emergency. And I'm gonna throw it out there. I'd like to make a motion, we go back to using the city fuel tanks and get away from the fuel cards.
There's a second on it?
Can we make a motion under city comments?
Yes.
Council comments? Up there, found that.
I would prefer that you not. Because it's something that under Robert's Rules of Order, which the question is whether or not they've been adopted. The Robert's Rules of Order, no. Whether or not they've been adopted by the city, I don't know the answer to that. And so I would prefer that you not. I would suggest, my suggestion would be, is that it be absolutely placed on the next agenda as an agenda item.
So are you telling me I
Can't
can't?
do that? Yeah, he's telling
I
us,
am
according to
making
Robert's Rules of Order,
no
you
motions
cannot.
during this time. If you do it, then you're just, whether or not you choose to follow my recommendation is entirely up to the council.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about that at the next council meeting, I take it? And, let's see. And I guess that's it for now.
I do have one other thing that I wanted to mention before we move on. I did mention it, and I can't make the motion, but you said so. I won't do that, but I did want to put on for the next agenda the crossing guard issue that hasn't been taking place, that I'm hearing up at Arlington, Alexander.
Did we not have a motion to include that during the summer?
I thought we did, but it's
We did.
apparently not happening, and it needs to happen, but I'll make the motion at the next meeting.
Well, the email went out that we weren't able to do that. We weren't able to provide that service under the circumstances. Everyone was covered.
Recently, but previously in the summer, I believe there was a motion made and approved by city council to be doing that.
Yeah.
Well,
So if that was the case, we can look up in our history and our minute meetings, it should be followed.
well, even if we have to make the motion in the next meeting, we will. That's not a negotiating point. It needs to happen, and it has to happen, because it's a safety issue.
Well, it's already said to
We've talked
happen.
about safety and liability over the last 3 years since I've been on this council, and that is a big safety issue, and it needs to be done. And if they can't provide it, then they need to provide us with a written explanation why it's not being done.
Right.
So, I mean, with that being said, we'll wait till the next meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you, Fred. Going down the list, I agree. You know, one thing is when Weber Oil fills that tank, we should be getting some type of tax abatement, which we do, and we're not paying all these taxes like you do at the regular gas station.
It's all set up
That is
where,
covered, but we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Alrighty. So that's something to discuss next meeting. Other thing is, guys, we're letting these people down. I wasn't here a couple weeks ago, for my work-related other job. But sucking up leaves, these people, they request that, they pay taxes to do it, we should be doing it. And we go through, we point the finger on the leaf machine, contract it out, we don't have the money. Then what are we doing with our money if we can't take care of our citizens? And then we push the word out, certain people do, saying, we're not gonna do it this year. We're gonna have to bag them. You know, this community is an older community. We need to have it where we work for these citizens. They put us in office. That's what we have to look at. I mean, just like when you run your household, where's your money going? If you can't afford this, you do something else. You get by. And the same thing, we can't go out and buy new equipment all the time. But it's kind of bogus some of the quotes we do get. We need to do our jobs and do the smell test. When they give us a quote, when they come back and give you a quote for a high-performance racing brakes on a police car with a V6 in it, that's not a Hemi. You know, we look like fools. That shouldn't even make it in front of us. So we should have leadership, and who somebody has common sense who can look into that with no excuses behind it, and groups with integrity that will give you the proper quotes. You know, when we talk about micromanaging, I know we're all accused of it, city council members. I'm going to defend you this time. Sometimes it has to be done just to do the damn common sense and smell test. And you know, we are accountable for these people's money that we spend trying to take care of them. And it's our job to get that money where we can take care of them by doing the roads, by making sure they got good water and sewer, you know, picking up their leaves, plowing their roads, you know, giving them the service they need. All right? So when we look at these quotes, we make sure we're doing the best interest of the people. I mean, if we can't do it, how hard is it sometimes to pick up the telephone? I got a 2009 Chevy Impala. I need a brake line. You know what? They'll give you a quote on the phone. You can call Pep Boys. You can call Bell Tire. You can call Rome's. You can call any place and get quotes. A lot of people do that. When your car is broken down at home, you call around. And especially when you know what the problem is. It's not that difficult, people. All right? And that's where we look integrity. When we go to groups and we ask them for quotes. You know, this ain't Joe Blow, my roof just came in, and the insurance company comes back and says, go get 3 quotes. You go to your 3 highest buddies, get the biggest quotes, who's going to take care of you the most, and give you a kickback. That's not what we're looking for. That's why insurance people have adjusters now coming out. All right? And we expect the same thing when that occurs. We're doing work for the city, for the police cars, you know, for the leaf vac, or anything we're doing. I mean, that's what we're calling integrity. You know, we're going back. We know places they have to make money, but they don't have to rob the people. And when we invest into our equipment, it's not just because we want to invest, it's keep it going. And sometimes it's cheaper to fix those cars than it is going to buy a brand new one. Because when you can't afford the new one, you do what you got. All right? And I keep hearing the word safety, 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 even on our police cars. Oh, the brakes are bad. It's not going to stop. You know what? That's a little common sense too. You have those safety clips in the back. When they start getting a little worn, they rub against the rotors and they make a squeaking noise. Your brakes still work. Even when it goes metal to metal, they will work. You know, you run into a problem when you got a brake line that's broke, guess what happens? Your pedal goes to the floor. Don't want to stop. So when you keep pumping, you know, when your fluid's all out, it ain't going to stop. Now that's a safety issue. All right? So I just wish we quit hiding behind BS and we move forward and do the right thing. All right? If it needs fixed, let's see what we can to fix it. But do it the right way. Go out and get 3 quotes from reputable places and do the right thing. All right? Same thing, this leaf machine. We went round and round. This damn thing should have been done 2 or 3 weeks ago. We should have went out and got 2 or 3 quotes. Who we're letting down are the people. You know, minimum, we need to go around the city twice this year and suck up leaves. And I agree, wait a little bit longer until they fall on the ground and let's suck them up. You know? And then we have a leaf machine, let's fix it. And if it breaks down again, if we gotta do it, let's keep fixing it if we have to. Same thing I expect. If we go with one of these gentlemen here, what type of accountability is he gonna do? He should come right back, I'll warranty it. What I fix, what I work on, I'll warranty it. Okay? But we gotta be smart.
As long as somebody
If it takes hydraulic fluid, don't put transmission fluid in it, okay? If they tell you to drain something, you drain it. And don't put ether in a diesel motor to blow the damn gaskets out of the heads. That's what occurred before. That's why we spent $2,000 or $3,000 last year redoing damn head gaskets. So, I mean, we can go back and blame mechanics, we can blame other people. But people, if you're going to use a diesel, know how to use a diesel and warm it up. All right, so we got directions to move on this. We got a lot of work to do. So I guess I'm done venting for now until next meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.